Good day to everyone. We will discuss today the third topic of the life and teachings of Jesus, part 1, the life of Jesus, and we are here in the life of knowledge and wisdom. We can see here who was the first human teacher of Jesus in the home. If you will read the Desire of Ages, it will tell us that the child Jesus did not receive instruction in the synagogue schools. His mother was his first human teacher. From her lips and the scrolls of the prophets, he learned of heavenly things. So we can see that the first human teacher of Jesus is his mother, of course. That's why it's very important that mothers will always train their children, like Mary. He also taught Jesus the scrolls or the writings of the prophets, especially the very words which he had spoken to Moses for Israel. Here we discover the important role of a mother or a future mother to her child. We can read Luke 2:41 to 52. The experience of Jesus in the temple when he was 12 years old. Jesus was left behind in Jerusalem, and then he went to the temple. So Mary and Joseph, they are busy in talking worldly topics, or their friends or associates, and they forgot Jesus. So when Jesus was left behind in Jerusalem, the experts of the law, the Pharisees and the scribes, were astonished by his wisdom. Jesus threw questions to them, to the religious leaders, and Jesus can also answer their questions. So the spirit of prophecy tells us that the rabbis were planning to let Jesus study in their rabbinical school. As he advanced from childhood to youth, he did not seek the schools of the rabbis. He needed not the education to be obtained from such sources, for God was his instructor. So the instructor of Jesus is no other than God, but his first human teacher is his mother. What is the importance of knowledge in our life? The Bible speaks of knowledge as a precursor of wisdom, because in Proverbs 9:10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. So knowledge is also very important, because wisdom, by definition, it is the application of your knowledge. Our problem today is that we are so knowledgeable, but we have no wisdom. Example, when we see a trash and a trash can, and a trash is just in the floor, if you will not put the trash in the trash can, you have just knowledge, but you have no wisdom. Because wisdom, you must put the trash in the trash can. That is wisdom, application of your knowledge. Some people know that drugs can kill or can destroy the minds, but they still use it. So they have knowledge, but they don't apply. They have no wisdom. So as Christians, as followers of Jesus, we need to balance knowledge and wisdom, because they must go together. In the Bible, if you read the Old Testament or the New Testament, there are two kinds of knowledge. In Greek, the first is epistemai. It means intellectual. Okay. The next is ginosko. Ginosko means experiential. We can also read in Genesis 4:1 that Adam knew Eve and Eve conceived. So how come that Adam only knew Eve, and then Eve conceived? So this term is equal to also in ginosko in Greek, and it is experiential, not merely intellectual. So to apply this in our life, we need to know Jesus intellectually and also know Him experientially. So this is very important, my dear teachers, to experience and to know Jesus both intellectually and experientially. The third here is wisdom. Now, wisdom is the application of knowledge. The very important thing to do, especially as followers of Jesus, that we have knowledge and wisdom. We must apply what we have learned. We must live what we preach. So the theoretical knowledge is not enough. We must apply it in our Christian life. So knowledge is important in life. Wisdom is also important. So in conclusion, knowledge is important, especially the knowledge of the Bible and about Christ. However, that does not end there. We need to experience this knowledge through applying. We call wisdom, applying it in our lives. And as Christians, we ought to improve our knowledge daily, mentally, studying in school or teaching in school, and spiritually reading the Bible and church-going habit. Eventually, we will apply the knowledge we have acquired, and that is wisdom. So, the life of knowledge and wisdom of Jesus Christ should be applied also in our Christian life. There are Bible characters that are full of knowledge and wisdom. Daniel, 10 times wiser, right? In Daniel chapter 1. Including Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So Stephen, also wise in preaching, but he was stoned to death. And then later, Saul was converted and became Paul. Paul was so knowledgeable, but because he met Jesus, he also applied what he had learned from the scrolls of the prophets or in the Old Testament. And he wrote more than 10 books in the New Testament. So that's how God can use us about knowledge and wisdom, if we will just allow Jesus to reign and to enter in each of our hearts. So the next topic here, my dear teachers, is the life of humility. So the life of humility of Jesus is very important to also be applied in our life. Jesus was born in a manger. He did not choose to be born in a palace. Okay? Our Savior did not seek recognition, nor did He desire applause from His audience when doing the work of God. So Jesus did not seek recognition. Sometimes we are tempted to have a prideful spirit that when we are not recognized by people, sometimes we are upset. Okay? But He desired no applause. Okay? The Savior, our Savior Jesus Christ, are not desiring applause of people while doing the work of God. So that's why as teachers, as co-workers with Jesus, we need to follow His example by His grace. And number one here is in Matthew 9:30. Jesus forbids them to tell the miracle He has done. Can you imagine? Jesus did a miracle and then He will tell you, don't tell anyone that I did this. But opposite to us sometimes, because when we do something good, we will always want that others will recognize us. Okay, so it is a reminder, my dear teachers, to always be humble. In Luke 8:51 to 56, we can see the story of the resurrection of the daughter of Jairus, and only few people, can you imagine? Only few people witness And Jesus did not allow the crowd to witness the resurrection of the daughter of Jairus. So we can see here humility. Humility is not the absence of self-confidence. Okay? It's not that you have no confidence in yourself. It's not humbleness. It's low self-esteem. Okay? Humility is not neglecting responsibilities. So when we are humble, we are, when in the sight of God we are humble, but if we neglect responsibilities, that is not humbleness. It is laziness, I should say. And number 3 here is humility is not telling people that you are humble. Because if you tell someone that you are humble, you are not humble at all. Okay? We are not humble if we tell people that we are humble. Humility is, on the other side, the habit, the ability to set aside yourself behind your capacity to do it. Okay? You set aside yourself. You must do it, but since you want others also to learn and to also exemplify their knowledge about the topic, then you will let others do the task. Okay? Humility is not seeking recognition. Continuing, in Philippians 2:1-11, there are elements of Christ's humility. If you will read that in verse 3, he considered others better than himself. He lowered himself. Okay? That's the humbleness of Jesus, the humility of Jesus. He humbled himself as a man without reputation. Verse 6 and 7, you can read that. Being obedient until death on the cross. This is the best humility, act of humility, when Jesus is obedient until death on the cross. As a result, he is highly exalted in heaven and on earth. So of course, his humility will just verify his exalted position in heaven. He is God. He became man for the sake of sinful humanity. He humbled himself until death, and he will always want others, think about others than himself. So that's the example of Christ's humility. Humbleness is a vital component of Christian life. All who profess to be followers of Jesus should possess this character. God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. You can see that in James 4:6-10, that God hates proud people, but he gives grace to the humble, to those people who exemplified humility like Jesus. So you can see Moses, Isaiah, Peter, they recognize this sinfulness, they recognize their nothingness without Jesus, without God in their lives, and they are mentioned as, or implied as, humble people, exemplifying the humility of Jesus because they have Jesus in their life. Okay, we can read that in Luke 5:8, when Peter saw it and fell at Jesus' knees, saying, "Depart from me, O Lord, for I am a sinful man." Peter realized his sinfulness. And then Isaiah said, "Who is me? For I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips." So he recognized that he is nothing. Now the man Moses was very meek, above all, the man upon the face of the earth. Numbers 12:3.